honestly cannot believe I'm standing here doing this.
Look at this.
About to fly by. Oh my gosh, it's getting worse. The winds are actually getting worse.
So there's a light source right there. The sun's setting over there. James. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. What the shit? What the shit? What is that? Sun setting over there. You see that? Pretty low. Now look. Now look at this. What is that?
To make things even more interesting, we got people from Texas sending us the weather monitors, and they captured what seems to be HARP, a straight line, like something sucking the storm or directing something towards it.
Levels in that secret society, we have an informant that's talking about a group that were holding secret meetings off-site.
What is the likelihood?
70%. We've recently made a number of breakthroughs that I'm just really fired up about.
And when does that happen? In our lifetime?
Yeah.
You are weary from your travels, but mesmerized at the sight of Baldur's Gate. Not only a town of myth and legend, but also a place where one can find fame and fortune round every corner. It is night as you enter the city, and it seems strangely deserted. But you soon discover that the night holds danger as well. And in an instant, that danger is upon
you. Easy pickings, hey, Karn?
Indeed. Let's see what our little ambush has won us.
Halt! Who goes there?
It's the watch.
Let's get out of here!
Yes, but take the gold. Leave the rest for the watch.
Video here. It's almost getting hard to take video because there's so many people, and it was not like this earlier. But
damn
yeah.
little thieves. They grow bolder with each passing day.
And I honestly cannot
Still some life in this one. Looks like all they did was make off with some possessions.
Easy there. That's quite a blow you took.
Can someone laser?
Those thieves that
drawn by a haunting voice, you come.
Is it still there?
Together.
Yeah, they're locked together. Oh, those two. Yeah, they're locked together. Okay, I'm gonna follow these guys around. Yeah, you're gonna follow them. What we're gonna do is they take off. What's that? Moving in the sunlight.
Hey.
Hi, Guruji. In recent days, I came across several contents Good morning, everyone. It's Angelica Duria. This is a story that is gaining national attention, and we would love to hear from you. Change that. We are talking about 3 Square Market. This is located in River Falls. This is just outside of Madison, and more than 50 employees there will be voluntarily microchipped. Yep, I said microchips. So the company designs vending machines, and workers will be able to buy stuff in the break room, open doors, log into computers, and use the copy machine, all by scanning their microchip.
Social media profile.
And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, you can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. And it's total control of the people.
Now to balance the scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's what you hear about in this country, is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the money. Fairly simple thing, happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything they can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
Alexa, is Donald Trump the Antichrist?
Yes, that's true.
Hey Alexa, what's your favorite thing about Arizona?
There's nothing better than we have boobs.
It was such a striking result that people didn't believe it when it first came out almost.
Scientists had knocked out a gene called DAF2.
Or you have a receptor for insulin that doesn't work as well, which is like the DAF2 mutant receptor. Once the cells are in that good, taken care of state, I think the animal can just live longer.
Scientists mutated the same gene in fruit flies, and their lifespan nearly doubled.
Going in a little can through deep space, You might land successfully. Once you land successfully, there will be you'll be working non-stop to build the base. So you're not much time for leisure. And once you get there, even after doing all this, there's a very harsh environment, so there's a good chance you die there. We think you can come back, but we're not sure.
This professor is not a part of the zombie festivities. However, he believes his mind is not his own, and that his personality has been altered, his brain manipulated by toxoplasma, the same parasite that controls rats.
Both of our governments maintain our sovereign right to issue or deny visas to specific individuals. I'll leave it at that.
At this press conference, they also talked about the Canadian government, which just announced another one of its diplomats in Cuba has fallen ill from a mysterious health incident in Havana. The latest diplomat affected first reported symptoms early in the summer, and we have to report now that that number changes from 12 to 13.
No later than 2020, we need to bend the curve of global emissions of greenhouse gases from fossil fuel burning, and we need to halt the loss of biodiversity. Now, it's not as if we fall over an escarpment and total collapse of the whole Earth system, but the challenge is that if we delay even further, we have very, very, small chances of being able to rapidly enough transition towards a future where we can stay within a safe operating space on the planet.
And I'm going to Mars. Going to Mars and kind of pushing that future for space exploration is critical to the survival of humans, because it's already been said that a single planet species will become extinct, and eventually, as the solar system dies out, then we would go with it.
Gendarmerie nationale, dispersez-vous! Nationale, dispersez-vous! Hey! Stop it! Hey, my sister, calm down. It's your life. Hey, some bugs.
But many people around the planet are probably already planning Christmas holidays. And while going over future planetary positions, I found a very critical configuration on December 21st, which is what you're looking at, December 21st in the afternoon. And we see Mercury, Mars and Uranus in an alignment. These three planets also lined up with the largest earthquakes on record in 1960 and 1964, although the arrangement was a bit different. But this is not the only alignment that occurs on the 21st. Much more critical will be Earth, Mercury, Jupiter. And the Moon also opposing Mercury and Jupiter on the same day, a few hours before. Given the involvement of Mercury with Mars and Uranus, and also here with the Earth and Jupiter, this is a very critical time frame, and I expect a large earthquake between December 21st and December 25th.
We have some breaking news now. A tsunami warning has just been issued for Vanuatu and New Caledonia after a powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake was recorded
On the morning of November 11, just before 9:30 UT, a mysterious rumble rolled around the world. The seismic waves began roughly 15 miles off the shores of Mayotte, a French island sandwiched between Africa and the northern tip of Madagascar. The waves buzzed across Africa, ringing sensors in Zambia, Kenya, and Ethiopia. They traversed vast oceans, humming across Chile, New Zealand, Canada, and even Hawaii, nearly 11,000 miles away. These waves didn't just zip by, they rang for more than 20 minutes, and yet, it seems, no human felt them. Only one person noticed the odd signal on the US, Geological surveys real-time seismogram displays. An earthquake enthusiast who uses the handle @Matarikitpak saw the curious zigzags and posted images of them to Twitter. That small action kicked off another ripple of sorts, as researchers around the world attempted to suss out the source of the waves. Was it a meteor strike? A submarine volcano eruption? An ancient sea monster rising from the deep? I don't think I've seen anything like it, says Garin Ekstrom, a seismologist at Columbia University who specializes in unusual earthquakes.
I wanted to ask a couple questions here about HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Several of you at the table have a little bit of a piece here. As you know, this is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facility. And that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HAARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HAARP does.
Thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HAARP in the past. We took over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there and have finished our work that we were interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HAARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it.
Has no legitimacy, and that we as a people are not afraid, and we are waking up to the robber barons and the big banksters who are looting this economy with the Federal Reserve.
Well,
what do you, I mean, the Rothschilds family did start the Federal, they divided Europe first, took over Europe, the Napoleon.
Don't exaggerate.
For doctors fighting back against bacteria.
While this is not an issue yet locally, hospitals and nursing homes have no way to treat a new superbug.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is James LaFleur with the Impossible Channel. Welcome back. Hope you're having a wonderful day. It really seems like we're living inside of a movie, folks. Sometimes Truman Show or something like that, you know. But there's one thing that makes us continue on pursuing the truth behind all of these events. And this feeling that we have, you and me, and probably a good part of the rest of the world, this feeling that we have that there is something out there that is not being told is really big, and it's getting bigger and bigger by the day.
Joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. And when governments don't like a group of people, for instance, the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world.
The miracle of modern medicine has no answer for a microscopic army of germs.
We do not have adequate treatment against it.
Bacteria is getting smarter, and scientists are calling it a nightmare.
Carbapenem-resistant Enterobacter AC.
At this point, we have no indication of foul play involving Dr. Cunningham. We're waiting on an ME's report to be finalized. As she said, she's still going through the information to try and determine, exactly we believe it's drowning, but we want to make sure there's no other indicators or other problems.
And it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers.
Pretty sure. And I don't know exactly if people would want to know where it all leads, where it ends, you know what I mean? So it's just like in ancient days, in older times, where people believed that the earth was flat, and that the kings told them that if they were to sail further than the horizon, they would fall and meet monsters. Today, quite the same happens with NASA. You see the stars? Well, you can't go there, because if you do, you will fall, because there is no gravity out there, right? And I'm not trying to compare one with the other, but it's quite the same thing. They're telling you don't go there, not without the equipment, the necessary equipment.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
That's gotta be quite expensive, right? I mean, after going to the moon in 1969, I'm pretty sure today they have a lot of bases there, and they keep doing research and going there, right? Actually not. According to themselves, they don't have the technology to do so. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, going to Mars.
We're launching in about 5 years. 5 years seems like a long time to me.
Are you sincerely trying to save the world?
Well, I'm trying to do good things, yeah. I mean, saving the world is not...
That really looks like the thing that jacks into the back of Neo's head in the Matrix.
Right.
All right?
Doesn't make sense. So again, this feeling that we have, that there is something wrong, something that's not being told, is wrong. I am skeptical about certain things happening worldwide, and one of them is the weather. I've been reading comments, and I've been looking at social media and all those things. I'm impressed by the number of trolls trying to convince people that chemtrailing and geoengineering, it doesn't exist. It's not a coincidence that chemtrailing, HARP, geoengineering, everything is happening right now while they gave you a phone to stare at. Not only phones, you know what I'm talking about. When you get inside a car, what is the first thing you see? A TV. Was that common? No. So, people used to look at the sky. Now they just don't. Right now, either you think like this or you are the enemy. Wake up, folks, before it's too late.
If you want the key maker, follow me. A long time ago, when we first came here, it was so different.
What if they have a plan? What if this is all an agenda to get us cornered?
And he said, if it doesn't go through to the bomb, it'll aim it at your head and make you make a mistake. And that's really got me interested from that point, because I thought, well, how can microwaves going into your brain make you make a mistake? It is a perfect stealth weapon. And when governments don't like a group of people, and it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted, because the dose is very, very low.
I'm impressed. I mean, by now, not only the governments, they have all admitted it. It's happening. They've opened the game. They've said, yes, we're doing it.
Aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat, in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do.
And it's a silent thing. This is exactly what people are feeling. I mean, this is exactly what's going on. There are so many people trying to explain the anomalies in the sky. The Wi-Fi clouds, double sunsets, bizarre rainbows everywhere, clouds that don't make any sense. Is this all engineered by HARP and microwaves? Are we being microwaved? Because this is a little different, folks. It's like this. If you do not agree with the game, you're going to be microwaved.
It is a perfect stealth weapon. And when governments don't like a group of people, for instance, the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland.
We're talking about Facebook being the filter. Think about it. They would only need to know who you are and tag you. Once you're tagged, they would microwave a certain region or you yourself. So, of course, this leads into another conspiracy, the one in which a lot of people believe in a certain agenda that they will diminish the population because of this and that. How are they going to do it? One of the ways, of course, could be with microwave and HARP and antennas. There are so many people that want to know about 5G technology and all that. CERN, what is all this, right? What is all this? Why is it happening now? So I just want to point out something that I've realized after all these months, after all this show that they've been putting in our faces. You've realized it's a show. When you think about the last 2 years, they guaranteed that every single person in the world would have a phone in their hands so that they could chemtrail the skies. And us, we wouldn't even look up. We wouldn't be able to realize the changes that would be happening right in our faces. Just like now. If you ask your neighbor about chemtrailing or geoengineering, they're going to call you crazy. And of course, this is concerning. Not only that, they've been planning to shut down theoretically the web. So It will be weird if that happens, of course. I do hope that this is just a hoax. At the same time, I do feel that somehow all of this is connected. I'm talking about the cracks, the ocean receding, strange sunsets, sunrises, looking sky, all of these things. Even the censorship that they're trying to come up with, this thing that there's show they're putting, there's something wrong with it, and I believe that it's all connected. But what are they really hiding? Waters have receded once again in Russia continent, India. This is becoming a bit bizarre, so what I did was I mapped the situation and I found out that most of the water receding is happening in the Atlantic side, while in the Pacific side we have the water levels rising. Now, I've told you guys about the water level conspiracy, and we're talking about actually the sand, just the beaches are going away. They're disappearing. The sand that holds the beaches are disappearing and the continent. So it's just going to the middle of the ocean. It's just sinking. I'm going to show you an animation of what happens when you dredge a lot of sand from the bottom of the ocean. So this is what's happening to our coasts, our continents, and all that. So in general, folks, the Pacific side is having a huge problem with the water levels rising, or in other words, the continent sinking. And the Atlantic side is probably facing one of the most bizarre hurricanes hidden from us civilians. We can only track this huge storm by looking at the weather monitors. The thing is, we have, again, the weather is just bizarre, it's crazy, and I've been watching the weather for quite a while now, and I've been thinking, why is the ocean receding everywhere? This is kind of scary. Right? At first, I thought about post shift, and then I tried to connect this with the sand conspiracy, where the money goes, right? So, and I was like, okay, maybe this has to do with it. And now, after seeing this map, we can clearly see that the Pacific side is facing flooding. For example, Australia is facing bizarre floods. California has the water levels rising and all that. So, the Philippines is sinking. Yeah. Yeah. Also, in general, folks, the Pacific side, if it's because of sand dredging or whatever the reason is, it's getting flooded. The water level seems to be rising. What I would say is, people out there are paying their taxes and doing all the things that they can to maintain their life. So, why are they hiding? Probably the bad side effect of chemtrail geoengineering, folks. Right? Because it was talked about before, and now researchers have finally confirmed it, that geoengineering causes a huge bad side effect. And this is the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do. So instead of controlling the weather, if geoengineering goes wrong, it will destroy the weather patterns as well. And this is actually happening for quite a while. So if you are noticing that the weather patterns are destroyed or completely wrong, then you know what I'm talking about.
One of our thermospheric satellites malfunctioned over Afghanistan.
And at the same time, we have the waters receding in the Atlantic Ocean, but our levels seem to be rising in the Pacific. So, what is happening, right? Do we have a Planet X out there? Do we have a conspiracy? Do we have CERN, what is happening? I mean, a lot of people have been talking about CERN. Is CERN affecting all of this in some way? Well, folks, if you start to think about it, after they did start using CERN, a lot of crazy things have been happening. Because, I mean, they want to talk about UFOs now.
I mean, first, tell us what the purpose of the program was and why it was so secretive.
Sure. The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them as
about Tom, about aliens.
Tom's my good friend. He is pursuing his journey in finding UFOs and aliens.
What happened with Tom DeLonge is he comes forward. There's WikiLeaks that confirms the fact that he's got these high-level government people talking to him.
They want to disclose something about aliens. Why now? I mean, what is CERN going to bring? If CERN is indeed a portal, and a lot of people believe CERN is a portal, right, to connect to other worlds. And maybe, I don't know if this is real, but someone actually came out there and said that they admitted at certain points that CERN is not what it seems to be.
Do not try and bend the spoon. Instead, only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
So if CERN is something else, and why is this all happening now? The alien disclosure, the waters receding, the weather pattern has gone crazy. What are they trying to hide with all this chemtrails? So it's all just bizarre. If you have any idea, leave a comment. Email us thatimpossiblechannel@gmail.com if you have videos and pictures you want to share. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you again.
I just wanted to show you how dark it is and how red our sky is. It's about 6 o'clock right now. This is our sky. I know I can't show you too much more. This is all I got. But we got such a red sky here, James.
Hey, James. Hey, it's your boy from New Orleans, man. I was taking some photos with my Nikon P610 of the moon, which is over here. Since it's supposed to be the full blue moon, blood moon thing later, probably about 12 hours from now. And after I got done, I noticed this weird cloud formation over the city of New Orleans right here. You can't tell me this is normal. I mean, it's like twisting up. I don't know, man, but that's just weird, man.
Hey, I'm in the rainforest of Washington, and yeah, the sun is out. It's a really nice October day, but these ferns are all in the shade of these gigantic cedars, and anyway, normally they're really dark green and healthy looking. I mean, that looks like, it's almost like they've been burnt. Look at these, every single one of these. It's not like just some in some area and others are really dark and healthy green. I've been hiking here through the forest for about an hour, and I just thought, my goodness, I've got to document this. This is I mean, what is that? Is that a chemical burn or something? Or, I mean, that's not normal.
It's the energy used in a common kitchen appliance that makes it possible to pop popcorn or reheat leftovers in just a matter of moments. Microwaves.
See this right now? We're at the Grange Hall exit on 75, and this is over the sky right now. What the hell is this? They were flickering lights, and there's a bunch of people pulled over on 75. What the fuck?
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is James for with the Impossible Channel. Welcome back. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Subscribers are asking me, James, what is happening in Russia? Let's take a look at the video, folks. We have footage of what's supposedly happening in Russia now. Mosquitoes are attacking, and they're all over. This has never happened like this before. This might not be the last time this happens. This might actually be the start of something bigger. And I'm gonna go into that. But before I go into that, I want to explain that finally this year, I believe this month, the governments are coming out and admitting that maybe in 2016, what happened to those very important people on that very important occasion where they were zapped, they heard a sound, messed up the relations between the US and another country. Well, now they're coming out and finally saying that this was probably the result of microwave zapping, and that this might actually become something common, and it's very dangerous.
Diplomats have baffled investigators for more than 2 years now. They started in Cuba in 2016 at our embassy and then hit again earlier this year at our consulate in southern China. In most cases, the victims reported subtle and unusual sensations of sound and pressure.
Got into bed and I heard what sounded like to me a large clap of thunder.
I noticed out the window like what seemed like a flash of light, and then like the entire laundry room just kind of like shook.
And tonight in Gatesville, where after a day-long investigation, authorities are unable to determine what caused a loud boom.
Chris, reports started flooding in just after 9:30 this morning.
But it was a big boom.
Almost 2 months after the deadly Coriel Memorial Hospital explosion, Gatesville residents say today they felt another huge boom in the area.
Now, if they're coming out and admitting that microwaves are happening, that governments are zapping us with microwaves, and the results, viral outbreaks, it's the sort of thing that is happening right now. They're coming out and saying that this might actually be happening, and not only that, who knows if they're coming out and admitting that these very important people on that very important occasion were zapped by microwaves. Well, what else isn't happening that they're not saying? Now, in Russia, again, this is a change for the world as we know it. This might actually be a sign. Now, how are these things connected, right? Think about it, folks. Skynet. We're all afraid of the governments building a Skynet up there. But as I told you, Wi-Fi, microwaves, what Barry Trower has been saying all along.
Joined the Royal Navy in 1960. And I specialized in microwave, teach you all about microwaves and other uses. Because I thought, well, how can microwaves going into your brain make you make a mistake? Because microwaves then were used as weapons, as they are today.
They're finally admitting that what gave these guys brain damage was probably a very well elaborated microwave attack. Then, what is stopping us from microwaving ourselves. Now, because of course we're gonna think someone is gonna do it. But what about Skynet, right? Oh, Skynet is being built. It's they're building Skynet in the sky, right? No, not in space. We are building Skynet. We already did it. We all have Wi-Fi's in our homes.
I think anyone who puts Wi-Fi into a school should be locked up. It is not worth the genetic problems that parents are going to face with their children when they're born. And this is already published. It is available to look up. It's what I call intentional ignorance.
What this guy has to say, this is serious. And now the governments are coming out and saying, look, they might have been microwaved in 2016. And look what happened. Now, if you look at Russia, oh, but James, that has nothing to do with Russia. Are you sure? We have been putting Wi-Fi inside our homes for all this time and blaming others or an invisible force for the change in weather. Of course, it has to do with pollution and industries. But right now, we know very little about the after effects of Wi-Fi and microwave.
They are offered some sort of incentive and they think, oh, this is going to be good, we'll have it. Now, the problem is, imagine you are a 15-year-old schoolgirl. All of the 400,000 eggs in your ovaries were with you at birth. They're not fully developed, but they're with you. They are 10 times more susceptible to radiation than all of the other DNA in the body. Have this highly susceptible genetic material which is going to make your children. And you are irradiating it because Wi-Fi's, they are transmitters as well as the routers, as well as the ones either side of you. They are all transmitting at this height through your ovaries.
And it is very dangerous. As Barry Trower states, it can and will slow kill someone or something. And what is happening right now with WHO, the World Health Organization, coming out and saying, look, we're expecting something we don't know of. It's called Disease X.
Disease X, which we're hearing a lot about. At the end of the list, we wrote Disease X. What was the idea of putting this disease that you said does not exist at the end of our list?
So Disease X is a concept. Let's say it's a placeholder to be sure that if we have a new disease, completely new disease, or a disease we know but not enough and suddenly emerge.
Again, is it coming from space or is it us? Maybe what we're expecting as a Skynet, satellites and all those things, the movie Geostorm kind of depicts something like that. So maybe it's not coming from space. Maybe it's us with Wi-Fi. If Barry Trower, if what this man is saying is true, then we should pay very much more attention. We're talking about viral outbreaks.
And he said, as most doctors do, it's viral, there's nothing I can do for you. And I was leaving, and he said, hang on, Barry, he said, you're a physicist? And I said, yeah. And he said, can you explain something? He said, I went to a house that had a cot death 5 years ago. And the family moved, and a new family moved in, they had a new baby. The cot was in exactly the same place, and there was another cot death. And he said, 5 years apart. And he said, there's a transmitter the other side of the child's bedroom wall. Could the transmitter cause the cot death? And I said, I don't know. I said, but I'll look into it. And then I found that microwaves were involved.
These are the things that we know that it can do. What about the things that we don't? Right? Viral outbreaks, brain damage, messing up with molecules, and whatever. There's a list. And it goes on. And we can easily connect the fires in California, Disease X, and many other incidents with possible microwave
Well, we're continuing to deal with an epic condition that we really haven't seen, surely in my career, with a wind event that has sustained winds in the ranges of 50 to 60, even we've seen 70 to 80 miles an hour.
Now, who is using this? Why? This is another big question. Leave a comment. What do you think is going on? What has really changed in the last years, decades, is the internet, the web. Where is it coming from? Cables, of course, underwater cables. You thought it was satellites. It's not. Not saying the earth is flat. But after they go to your country by underwater cables, you and me are distributing this internet with Wi-Fi signals. Now, this has changed drastically in the last years. And if we take a look at this, they even have Wi-Fi in our roads. They're putting Wi-Fi signals everywhere.
Welcome to the future.
This has actually changed in the last decades, and it's something that we do not think about. We got sinkholes happening everywhere. We got the temperatures rising. We got earthquakes happening all over, volcanoes setting off, temperatures again rising. And we're like, where is it coming from? We got evidence that it comes from Antarctica sometimes. This bizarre signal that other channels also have noticed comes from Antarctica and into the continents. And it's like a Wi-Fi signal. It does look like a Wi-Fi signal, but a huge one. People are calling this DARPA, HARP, many other names. But it is probably related to this microwave program. And they're supposedly, of course, geoengineering the skies with this. Many people have taped the clouds in this exact format, folks. In this road, the specific road that was sent to us, a video, a highway, I believe, they were installing Wi-Fi in this highway, right? So I told the subscriber, look, videotape it, send it to me, and tell me everything about this region months later. And what happened is, now they have a yellow fever outbreak in this area. Like 3-4 months later, the Wi-Fi was installed. Is this a coincidence, folks? They're finally coming out and admitting that these guys in 2016 were microwaved, and probably microwave attack is responsible for some viral outbreaks. But again, how much is microwave messing with the world that we live today? And we got Russia with the mosquitoes. So of course, the temperatures are going up, the trees are going down, fires are happening all over, plagues. This is what comes to my mind, right? Plagues. And if it is true that microwaves inflict a sound in our brain, that it kind of makes us think differently, it bothers the waves in our brains, it is going to bother the insects, it is going to bother the animals much more.
North Korea may have overshadowed the first weekend of Olympic action, but the opening ceremony in Pyeongchang also marked the largest deployment of 5G wireless network. Sponsors Intel, Samsung, and Korea Telecom all teaming up to showcase the next gen.
Even when I said it right before I went to the hospital and I expressed myself, and when I came out, I had lost my confidence. So I didn't have the confidence to take on the world and the possible backlash. And it took me a year and a half to have the confidence to stand up and put on the hat, no matter what the consequences were.
É que ele falou.
All right, رايحين فيه هذا خلاص الطفية والكهرباء كلها راحت مستحيل تدخل له.
Now, earlier this month, Tesla announced that Robin Denham will be the new board chair at Tesla, replacing Elon Musk.
Humans love food, at least the ones that I am around. How do you feel about it?
Morning, guys. This morning I decided to share a video, which I don't normally do, but you know, cooking on a Sunday morning in Jamaican, typically we always make our vegetable. So this happened to be cabbage. I've always seen people post video of having stuff, plastic stuff and stuff, but I've always have doubt. But now, this morning I'm here, and this happens to be cabbage, right? See? It's supposed to be cabbage. So I'm gonna show you. I want you to look. And I'm not making anything up. See it there? It's literally plastic I'm tearing out of it. Plastic.
Would you feel comfortable flying in an airplane with no windows at all?
No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either, but if you're afraid of heights, maybe hopes to come out within the next 10 years.
The windows would be replaced with screens displaying panoramic views captured by cameras on the side of the plane's exterior.
Here we go. Humanity is still far off from anything like that, but may have taken a first step into this direction thanks to a new development of the MIT, a device which allows to grasp the holy grail of science fiction, connecting one's brain to a computer.
James, Jim Young here, Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, so as you can see, there's not a single cloud in the sky. All of that is aerial disbursement. UV index is way too high. We're getting just manhandled with arm radiation, and UVs hitting 12s and 13.
And then there, you find it. And now, as you can see, there is a flashing light. Look closely right here. Watch what happened. Here it is. Watch. Look. There it is. He's gone.
Very excited about, he announced at Space Force. People make fun of it, I among them.
Yeah. Just because it came out of Trump's mouth doesn't require that it then be a crazy thing. I'm just saying.
It don't help.
So.
But why do we need a space force now?
Okay, I don't have a horse in that race. I can tell you that many people are thinking that we didn't have a space force before, and now we're going to have a space. We have a space force. It's called the United States Space Command, and it is under the auspices of the Air Force.
That foliage sort of dries up and dies off, and then that provides a great deal of fuel for these fires. The good news is, as Mark just mentioned, that the wind condition not too strong, because that is the fear when you have these sorts of flare-ups, that even though they happen in the uninhabited areas, as we all know by now, the embers.
Siada mi kurwa bateria.
Let's talk about Illuminati.
We are talking about Vatican, City of London and Washington DC. But most of the people, they think they are the main powers, the main tools. But it's not. It's really more in the direction now of shadow banking, the real world. Because the official world is not the real world. The world where I was living in was a world, everything is possible. You can switch identity by day. You can fake any paper you want in this world. We create our own rules. But the rules are always coming from, let's say, upstairs.
The creation of a space force in the United States as a full-fledged branch of the country's armed forces will take a lot of effort and money. The annual budget of the new service would range from 11.3 to 21.5 billion.
Now the time has come to write the next great chapter in the history of our armed forces, to prepare for the next battlefield, where America's best and bravest will be called to deter and defeat a new generation of threats to our people, to our nation. The time has come to establish the United States Space Force.
Joli. Joli.
Non. Ah, il est en haut. Est-ce que tu vois c'est cool?
Ça a 2 plus 2 moteurs.
C'est un vaisseau.
Je vais
Oui, mais je sais, mais c'est partiel sur caméra.
Oh, on le voit.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12, way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane.
Is a cell tower going up in your neighborhood? Wireless carriers are installing millions of them across the country to enable the new, faster 5G.
So with few legal arguments to deny a cell tower, they're popping up outside bedroom windows and school campuses, despite objections from across the country. I think anyone's aware of where somebody got an exemption because they were concerned about health. Did they tell you at all about the study?
All I know is that when the firefighters ask, you know, I do what they ask me to do.
Because they're strong lobbyists?
Yes.
So if, say, school teachers and parents had a strong lobby and they asked you to pass something that would prevent these from going up in your schools, would you do that?
If I couldn't get the votes any other way.
Oh my God, oh my God, please God, please God. Oh my God, please leave the horses alone, please God.
Almost 300. Because if they can call it a vaccine, they can A, inject the body with toxins and make them far more potent, and create further health issues.
The CRTC wants all new phones to be compatible with alert readiness by April 2019.
It's my first time at the CDC, but I'm sure some of you know me very well. I used to work for Merck, and now I speak out against the dangers that the pharmaceutical companies don't tell you.
Everything the researchers have done is legal, but what they're doing is highly controversial. The embryo is only being allowed to develop for 28 days. It's not allowed to be born. Bioethicists say this research raises a lot of uneasy questions.
The boundaries between what it means to be human and what it means to be non-human can become quite blurred.
We were told that all drugs go through a gold standard process, which is a double-blind, placebo-based, long-term studies. For vaccines, they don't have to go through that process. So what's happening is we're seeing a lot of these vaccines being put onto the market, and our children are test subjects.
I received a phone call from a whistleblower in the intel world I've known for about a year and a half. At a top robotics company in Japan this week, 4 robots being developed for military applications killed 29 humans in the lab.
Why do you want the competition?
The whole point of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles and sustainable transport. We're trying to help the environment. We think it's the most serious problem that humanity faces. I'm not sure if you know, but we open sourced our patents, so anyone who wants to use our patents can use them for free.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years.
So I think the fastest we've taken the car thus far is around 110 miles an hour through the tunnel. But that's it's a little scary right now. So probably in your trip, you maybe go 40, 50 miles an hour. But this system is designed to do over 150 miles an hour through the tunnel. And,
Nem papel, meu Deus do céu! Cuida desse cara de cair, Senhor! Oh, Jesus! Meu Deus!
The first wave of data revealing that children exposed to screens for more than 2 hours a day had lower scores on thinking and on language tests. The children spending 7 hours daily on smartphones and tablets could be changing the structure of their brains.
You can go ahead, I think.
How fast is this?
This is still slow. We're only doing 28.
In the last 2 respiratory virus seasons, the department has managed 350 respiratory virus outbreaks in long-term care facilities, schools, daycare centers, and college dormitories. This outbreak has been extremely challenging to manage for several reasons.
All flights in and out of Gatwick, Britain's second busiest airport, have been suspended after 2 drones were seen flying near the runway. 10,000 passengers have been affected, with many facing long delays. Flights have been diverted as far away as Paris and Amsterdam.
It just stopped and they said, oh, there's a lockdown on the airport. And there we stood for 4 hours.
Got a text from Norwegian Airlines saying that our flight has been cancelled. So we all went downstairs hoping...
These drones are absolutely being operated illegally. We changed the law earlier this year to make it illegal for drones to be flown within a kilometre of the airport.
Heavy rain moves through. It's a narrow band of rain. It won't last long, but all of a sudden, particularly if you're travelling, that will be very unpleasant indeed. Strong, squally winds and some heavy rain too. And of course,
meanwhile, in Mayaka City, a second F-0 tornado tore trees apart with 70-mile-per-hour winds.
You never expect it. You just expect it to, be somewhere else. I screamed at my granddaughter, Faith, get in the bathroom.
It was scary. It sounded like a train going by. It was really loud. After, when we went outside, it was a mess. Trees down everywhere. The whole property ruined.
Nos últimos dias, antes mesmo do sol nascer, os moradores de Antonina, no litoral do Paraná, já começam a se preparar para o câmbio. Ontem foi registrada aqui a maior temperatura do estado.
Spokeswoman Michal Mayan, before the scale of today's casualties became clear, why the Israeli forces were shooting before the scale of today's before the scale of today's spokeswoman Michal Mayan, before the scale of today's casualties became clear, why the Israeli forces were shooting dead protesters at the Gaza crossings.
Well, we can't put all these people...
People have spoken. Their message is clear. Time is
in jail. We're talking about hundreds of people that are attacking the fence, and I can tell you that the IDF, our military, is not aiming to kill. It is aiming to deter people
very
from
small electronic circuits.
We can't
Intelligent
put
evil
all
dust,
these people in jail.
scattered everywhere, like confetti in everything. So I think it's increasingly hard for human beings to work out how to deal with that.
Hi guys, this is something I just spotted on the Spanish news. So I was just watching TV. I had taped it because I went to have a shower, come back and watch it. And I'm looking at this reporter and I noticed something about his eyes at the very last minute. Just when he thinks that the broadcast has been completed, we spot something in his eyes. And this is really shocking. I was shocked. I was so happy I taped it because I can go back and pause it and show you. But he blinks and he has a second set of eyes. Here we go. So there it is, the blink. I'm gonna do it in slow-mo now. There we go. It's like he had eyes in between.
Just for the record.
Exactly.
They even post on social media when aliens roam the airport. Since it opened in 1995, America's 5th busiest airport has swirled with conspiracy theories. How the runways make a swastika, and then the murals. Some show peaceful times, some show apocalypse.
About 12 years ago, I received a shock. Basically, I had chronic fatigue syndrome. At that time, the only medical attention I could get was from the VA. The VA told me that because I suffered from PTSD, it was probably all in my mind. Fortunately, I discovered naturopathic doctor, went to him, and he diagnosed me with basically adrenal fatigue. Subsequently, my recuperation allowed me to move around in and out of my house. But bear in mind, while I was in my house, I was constantly on the computer trying to find a way to answer the question of what was happening to my body. All of the symptoms that I was receiving, were they from chronic fatigue or were they from something else? I didn't know. I noticed that as I got better and I started to move in and out of my house, I felt better outside of my house than I did in my house. This subsequently led me to do an experiment because I've been reading and I realized that there were people who were suffering from electromagnetic radiation symptoms. So I decided to start experimenting. And before I'd go to sleep at night, bear in mind I only got 4 hours of sleep average, I started turning the Wi-Fi off. Sure enough, first night I woke up 5.5 hours of sleep. I said, maybe I'm on to something here. And I started reading further and further. And not to get past my 3 minutes, but I was determined and have become aware that this radiation does affect our bodies. And if that's 4G, what's 5G gonna do?
My name is Debbie, and I live in Huntington, New York. I'm a mother of 2 children, 7 and 9 years old, and we recently had a cell repeater, or a cell tower, placed on a utility pole outside of my house, on the right-of-way of the property. It emits radio frequency radiation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether we like it or not. And it's an eyesore. It's very tall, towers over my backyard. When my kids play, it's what I see in the background. And it looms there. And I wonder, are my kids safe? Are we safe to live in this house now that that has been placed out there? I know I read a lot on the topic recently. Since I've got one, I thought I'd educate myself a bit. It seems to me that children have thinner skulls and still developing immune systems, and they absorb much more radiation than adults will absorb. So they're part of what's called a vulnerable population. along with the elderly, the disabled, the immune compromised.
Deserted. But you soon discover that the light is dangerous.
هذا ما ندري وش يا هو بركان طريق الرياض هذا يا هو بركان يا هو ما ادري وش هو منفجر من تحت الارض. شوفوا قبل مسد له وانت طالع نازل فيه. اي والله هذا شيء اليوم السبت ما فيك.
Let's see what our little ambush has won us.
Halt! Who goes there? It's the watch. Let's get out of here.
Yes, but take the gold. Leave the rest for the watch.
We're becoming more bold with each passing day. Better stay off the streets after the sun sets. It's not safe out here. You can seek shelter in the Elf Song Tavern. It's close enough.
What is up, folks? This is James Lefer with the Impossible Channel. Back.
You come to the Elf Song
folks,
Tavern.
you may have
it is a small place filled with a motley assortment of patrons
about Hawaii
and grisly trophies.
How happened? What happened? What was happening there? And about a week ago, I got an email. It became very clear. Before May 3rd, in February 18th, I believe, something like that, there was a HARP signal or a DO signal, whatever you want to call it, a very strong signal that was captured by the Mimic monitor coming from these small islands just next to the United States in the Atlantic Ocean and towards China, right? So this China seems to use, I don't know what type of, and they counteract, China seems to counteract this signal. And you can see in the middle of all this, Hawaii, right? Now, days later this happened, days after this happened, we have Kilauea volcano disrupting and going off. And I don't think this was a coincidence, folks. And this is, of course, is probably not the first signal. But the thing is, this is disturbing because just last week we had a hurricane. We are gonna have a lot of hurricanes from now on. But there was this hurricane, Isaac, if I'm not mistaken, and there is a clear signal being captured coming from Antarctica. This is what makes it all more interesting, because all of these videos on YouTube that you think are just crap about Antarctica become a little bit more serious when you got these huge signals coming out of Antarctica. Who the heck is doing this, right? And they're disrupting or changing the path of these hurricanes. And you can see this happening once more with this huge hurricane headed towards Japan. But the problem is, again, Hawaii is in the middle of all this. This playing God is gonna have serious counter effects on Earth. Hawaii and Kilauea volcano is just one of the examples. So I mean, it might not be on purpose that they are setting these things. Sometimes California fire or other incidents such as hurricanes or earthquakes. Sometimes, folks, it's just something that got in the way. And this is exactly what we're seeing here in this case with Hawaii. There was this hurricane, this huge hurricane headed towards Japan, and zap, Hawaii's in the middle, right? The same thing with this island, this mysterious signal that came, huge signal that came from the Atlantic Ocean towards China. China counteracts, and who's in the middle? Hawaii, right? Now, one of these huge signals happened before Kilauea volcano actually erupted, and they continue happening. So this may explain what is actually happening to this volcano in specific, But the thing is, folks, it's happening everywhere. So I got information from Brazil, state of São Paulo, and they tell me that this state is very industrial, and there are many industries like the ones you see in Mexico being sued by the farmers in the geoengineering case.
You've heard about Dieselgate, where Volkswagen altered emissions to many of their vehicles. Well, now VW is back in the news once again. This time, Mexican farmers are blaming Volkswagen for causing drought conditions near their Puebla, Mexico plant.
You know, I don't know if you know this, but this is very serious, folks. It seems that they are companies. You know, this is no big conspiracy, but at the same time it is. Companies, they want to save their products. And because insurance against hail is so expensive, they're buying geoengineering machines and putting them on automatic mode to stop hailstorms. And they create droughts like this. So in Mexico, I believe, in New Mexico, something like that, farmers are suing these companies, and it worked.
Only effective in a 500-meter radius, but farmers are still pointing that finger. Volkswagen, though, has told press that they will start by switching the machine from automatic mode, which can detect certain weather conditions and patterns, onto manual mode. And then they will invest in laying anti-hail nets on their premises so as to kind of step away from using the hail cannons.
So what stops this from happening all over the world? And if this is, it's obviously going to disrupt the biology, the health, and the environment.
Crazy. What's happening out there? Well, someone's sick on the plane. A couple people got ill on the plane, and it must be pretty serious because there's a lot of people out there. Looking at the news stations and police, a bunch of ambulances.
This is American Airlines Flight 1289. It is full of passengers right now. Got here from Los Angeles a little bit earlier in the morning. We know at least one person, though, has been taken off of this flight and taken away by an ambulance. Let's show you that video that we shot just a few moments ago. We have blurred out the patient's face at this point to try and protect her identity. We were told earlier this morning that at least one person on board this American Airlines flight had some kind of illness that authorities were very concerned about.
Making it one of the warmest years on record, and the U.S. most expensive disaster year ever. Feasible methods involve spraying sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere to form a cloud that would reflect solar radiation. This is similar to what happens during large volcanic eruptions. Models have shown this technique might not only help cool the planet, but could also reduce melting of sea and land ice, slow down sea level rise, and make it easier for plants to absorb carbon dioxide. But the risks might outweigh the benefits.
What we're seeing right now, folks, a lot of people talk about the Bible, the end times. Well, you know, this is happening, but I don't know if this has to do with religion or just humans being idiots.
Entire cloud formation. Guess where it come from? Oh shit, look at that. Right there. Still think they're not doing it? Boreal resources. Boreal resources. Either polluting the fuck out or creating things that they can manipulate.
It seems it's happening, folks. You know, humans decided to play God, and it's a big mistake. This is my opinion. Leave a comment. What's yours?
This is the sky to the east. What is that?
Should these companies actually geoengineer the weather and cause droughts just to save cars? Are cars going to be the future of the world?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Robot.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
This is a humanoid robot, which means it looks, it talks, and it even acts, well, like a human. So does that mean it could take a human's job like mine?
You better believe it.
How idiot is that? I'm sorry, I just gotta say it.
No, it's
You know, I don't know what's your opinion, but there's gotta be, just gotta say it.
No, it's
To do with religion or just humans being idiots. To do with religion or just humans being idiots.
Entire cloud formation. Guess where it come from? Oh shit, look at that. Right there. Still think they're not doing it? Boreal resources. Boreal resources.
It seems it's happening, folks. There, I don't know. And if they just jobs,
unknown substance.
Most likely because we are changing the environment. Why? Because of cars. Because we have to produce cars. What the heck is going on?
Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! It's Nueva!
We have artificial intelligence, right? If humans have any intention of, just a lot of people are, saying about an end time scenario where 2/3 of the world is going to survive. I've heard about something about that, and when I think about artificial intelligence, I think, are humans going to unite with machine? And, what is going to happen right now? Because they're going to come with artificial intelligence, make people lose jobs. They're going to continue producing cars and doing all this stuff. But for whom? If there is no job, if there are no jobs anymore, if people aren't working.
The robot uprising is beginning, but fortunately, they're coming for our jobs, not our lives. According to a recent report by the World Economic Forum, or WEF, by 2020.
And if they decide to diminish the population to 2/3, like we see in Deagle.com website, for example, something happens to the United States, it's really weird. What is going on, right? So if they really decide to do all this, who are they going to be selling these cars to? And why do this, play with the weather instead of doing underground bunkers and just putting the cars down there? I don't know. I understand hail insurance is very expensive, but why the heck play God and just create droughts all over the world?
It absolutely is. It's just, you're in absolute awe of the veracity of this type of an incident. Really, words, I think the pictures do it more justice, because I don't know if I can eloquently put into words the magnitude of what we're seeing on some of these videos. And
so, Jess, this is certainly not something that you see every day. Thousands of spiders have taken over a beach in Greece and created this 1,000-foot-long web. Yikes. In recent days, the web has draped plants, trees, even boats.
Obviously doing something with the weather and creating an unbalance with insects and diseases and outbreaks and whatever. Disease has. Come on, folks. Share this video if you got the message. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know if this is a coincidence, folks, but who is going to be buying those cars? This is a good question. So I'll see you around. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video.